Namaskar everyone, and a special welcome to this wonderful evening, the talk on depression, something that so many people are facing. But before we commence, let us all join in a prayer to the Lord for His blessings and continuous guidance. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudakshate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnam Meva Vashishyate. Om Tatsat Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So my dear friends, a special welcome to all of our viewers. It's always nice to be in your company. And wherever you have logged on from, we like to say a special welcome. And you can share this video, a message to your friends and families. I'm sure they will appreciate, and you will appreciate what I'm about to say. There's never a week that goes by that people call and tell us they are frustrated, they are depressed, they're lonely, they feel like committing suicide, they feel so down and isolated from the real world. They feel so alone, very angry, depressed, frustrated, you name it. Especially during this time of this critical pandemic where you have nowhere to turn sometimes. And fighting depression is a very, very serious thing. It's a very, very serious thing, friends. You know, you don't have to be any particular age to be depressed. You can have depression in any point of your life and you don't even know. Blessed are those who go into depression and they have the inner strength by the guidance of the Lord, that internal strength to come out from their depression. Unfortunately, so many people go into depression and never came back out. I'm sure you may have known some friends, family members, even our own children, people who are very close to where they are depressed. And what is sad is that one can be depressed and one doesn't know. But in today's discussion, we will discuss what are some of the symptoms. What can we do to face this depression? And you know, when you're depressed, right, the first thing that you will understand is that you're not yourself. You'll always feel distant from reality. You don't live in this world of reality. There are a lot of people who live just physically, but they're not there all mentally. And that is a very serious case. Because, you know, you lose your joy of life. You lose your joy of living. And the most difficult part in life is when you have lost your vigor, your enthusiasm, your joy from life. When you become frustrated and depressed, not even the best of food that you once loved becomes tasty in the mouth. Not even the music that once brought nectar to your ear becomes favorable to listen anymore. Once you're depressed, my dear friends, the best of friends you once knew, they are not there. You feel that they are your worst enemies. Remember Mother Sita in the Ramayana? When she was in Lanka and Hanumanji met her, he described her frustration, her loneliness, her depression. And she said, even the greenest grass looked as burnt as never before. Even the bright sun looks so dull. Even the rose, they look so dry and poisoned. Even the food that I once loved tastes bitter without you, O Sri Ram. And this is what happens exactly to all of us when we are frustrated and depressed. In today's program, I would like all of your viewers who are viewing, what you can do is to help me, help our viewers, other viewers. You could comment, you could ask a question, you can add towards this discussion on this very important topic that is very essential during this time. You know, depression is living in the body that fights to survive with a mind that tries to die. A beautiful quotation, isn't it? It says, depression is living in a body that fights to survive in a mind that tries to die. When we are depressed, the mind becomes so, out of the world. That enthusiasm is not there. And there are many people in our scriptures who have faced this depression, like Arjuna, when his mind was all clouded. He could not have made the right choice. I'm sure you as well. That choice cannot be made properly when you're confused, when you're saddened, when you can't sleep, when you can't eat, you can't smile anymore, when you can't dance and enjoy once what you used to enjoy, then you know for a fact something is not right. Depression starts creeping into your life without you knowing. And my friends, once you start feeling depression, right, your interest is lost, sadness comes, you become very angry very easily with your children, with your spouse, with people you work with. You become, it really, really poisons your life. It makes you so depressed and you become so frustrated like Arjuna. But lucky he had Bhagavan Sri Krishna. When he fell and he said, Bhagavan, I have lost my senses, I have lost my mind. Lord Krishna says to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, and I hope that this verse will help you. Chapter 2, verse 3. If you may have a Bhagavad Gita, or you may like to go to it afterwards, please listen to what Bhagavan said. He said, Klebhyam mam smaragam partha. Do not grieve into weakness of the mind and senses. For if you do not have that Atma Bala, that strength, you will succumb and fall victim to all things, terrible things, and you will become much more frustrated. Klebhyam mam. Do not grieve and do not give in, Klebhyam, to that weakness, O Partha, Arjuna. Na tvaitu naite tva ani upapadyate. This will not benefit you at all. Na tat tvam upapadyate. It will not upapadyate. It will not benefit you at all, Arjuna. Kshodram hriday durbalam. Cast off, Shodram, hriday, from your heart, this weakness, this durlabam. Please remove it. Once it comes in, tells it goodbye. My friends, Krishnji is telling Arjuna, never entertain that weakness at all. Shudram hriday durbalam. Cast off that weakness from the heart. And tvakto utishta paramtapa. Very beautiful. Tvakta tishtam paramtapaha. Stand up, utishta. Utashta means stand up, O Arjuna. And again, tvakta, fight that enemy. Paramtapa, stand up and go within and find that, sacrifice yourself. Paramtapa, by that param, that uplifted, motivated mind, you are going to solve your problems and difficulties. My dear friends, do you think that you are depressed? It's very, very easy to be depressed, my friends, especially in this pandemic, where you're at one place, you're at home, right? Nowhere to go. And you have to see the same people every day, right? Nothing is wrong in that. If you truly love them, then you don't mind seeing them every day. A lot of divorces are happening these days because the wife can't just take on the husband and the husband same. Of course, my dear friends, simple things can create such depression. You know, we smile at it, but it's a factor. My friends, when you do the same thing, repeatedly in your life, during this time, you're at home, the same conditions, the same environment, the same home, the same people, that opportunity is not given to you because you're enclosed in one place. That can really, really frustrate you. So, what is the answer for all this I'm speaking about? If you have lost your joy, my dear friends, when the joy is lost, you're isolated, what you should do? Bhagwan Krishna gave us the answer just now. Don't succumb to your weakness. Don't think about it. Alright? Don't ever think about your problems. You know why? Because your problems become bigger than your own strength, your God. Bhagwan is always greater, not your problems. And we talk now, we divert this talk of depression to spirituality. And I think when we are spiritual, right? When we meditate, when we chant the Lord's name, when we follow a guru, when we read the Hindu scriptures, when we can perform our dhyana yoga, when we can go to a satsang, well, not these days. I mean, everything has become virtual now. But listening to a good talk can really, really motivate you. It can really strengthen your mind. It can really help you come out from that dark hole of depression. We all face depression. Sometimes I go through my times as well. Yes? Well, what do you do? What do? You play some wonderful music, flute music that you're hearing in the background. A little meditation can help you. Looking at a satsang, bhajans that you love, that can help you as well. And I think more so, exercising physically can help you a lot. I mean, even though the situation, I go for my daily walk, I breathe in and breathe out, I take my precaution, yes. But my dear friends, fresh air is important. Sunlight is important. Exercising, it kind of transfers a positive hormone in your body. Depression is all about fighting with that kind of cortisol. That hormone that the brain sends out, It's very, very important that we understand. This cortisol hormone is released from the brain when you are trapped within your own self. When your mind becomes confused, when you feel that the world is against you, you have lost your friends, you have lost your wealth, you have lost your loved ones, you have lost your enthusiasm, you have lost your wealth. All these things contribute. Now, when you keep focusing on this loss, and you start counting your troubles instead of your blessing, there's this gland in the brain that releases this cortisol. When the adrenaline gland produces this kind this gland produces this, it really tightens your entire existence, And this cortisol gland, what it does, it's very poisonous. It starts affecting your heart because it becomes a stress to the human body. And when you're stressed out, my gosh, it's terrible. And this cortisol gland, this adrenal gland produces this poisonous hormone. And the only thing can fight against that is your endorphins. You know, that gland, that happy gland. And that is caused, of course, by smiling, by laughing, by listening to beautiful music, by going within yourself and finding your Atma Bala. And you start feeling happy again. This is when the happy gland, which is called the endorphin, produces so much positive gland, it overpowers the cortisol gland, and the brain becomes corrected. So therefore, my friends, are we producing this poisonous gland and this hormone from our brain that will affect the heart? It affects the way you think, and it starts affecting the body, the gland, and all the organs of the internal organs of the body. And this, of course, is caused mainly by stress. And I know we are living in a stressful time, right? Financial issues, you know, families, where you're going to get, you know, food for your families, for people who depend on the society. You know, it's quite a stressful life, isn't it? My dear friends, when your health is affected, that's the worst. It's terrible when your health is affected. All right, so what is important, my dear friends? We start feeling that strength. A lot of people, before I go in there, I just want to stress on exercising. It is very, very important. You know, nothing is wrong to go outside and exercise for 20 minutes, half an hour. It helps you breathe better. It helps you look brighter. It helps you think greater. It helps to bring out the magic of your existence. But if you stay at your home, you stay inside your home, you stay at your room, you look at your movies, and what you do, you try to fill that void, that emptiness with movies. You try to fill that void by eating excessively. Now, when you're depressed, you can either eat excessively to hide your emotions, to fill that void of the emotions, or some people lose their appetite and they become very puddly, very thin and weak, my friends. So there are two aspects of this depression. Make you eat excessively, put on weight to hide those emotions, to fight those emotions, or some people just lose their appetite in eating. So exercise is recommended, my friends. Physical exercising is important, all right? Meditation is important. Sit for 5 minutes in your puja room. Say, Bhagwan, I'm all yours. You told me sarva dharman parityajya mamikam sharanam braja. You told me surrender to you. Now I'm surrender. You take away the poison, O Krishnaji, O Shivaji. Just as you drank that poison and you saved the world, save me as well, O Lord Shiva. O Lord Krishna, when in the Yamuna river was affected by Kalya Nag that was poisoning the territory and people were dying from consuming the water, you came and you fight with that Kalya Nag and you danced on top of that Kalya Nag. Please also neutralize the poison and bring that ambrosia, that Amrit once more. You know, coming to the lighter side of it, you know, I remembered an experience while I was in India studying, and it was not an easy time. We had, you know, I had to go through a lot of new environment, little flooding, to walk through the flood, to reach to the mandir where the Guru was. At least that was a 10 minutes walk, and you don't know where you're placing your foot. And where I was in that area had a lot of cobra snakes, so it was really, really terrible. And you know, it was very cold. At that time, where the Gurukul system was in Sandipani, had no warm water, so it was very cold. You had to get up early in the morning. You have to learn certain mantras by heart. It was tough. You know, especially when you were not financially supported. It was much more difficult. But living in an ashram really was a stress-free thing. I cannot regret being a student for 3 years in Sandipani, in Mumbai, India. But one day, I remember it was a Sunday where we were asked to clean the rooms, mop out and throw out the water and so on. And I was like in the second floor. And on that particular day, I was cleaning. My mind was not where I was, when the mind is different from the body. The body is different from, you're living one level at the mind and a different level at the senses and the body. You do things unknowingly. And I took the water, the dirty water, because, the dust from the Bombay area. They were just building the 5-star hotel next to the Sandipani Gurukul place. And I took the water from the bucket and threw it over the railing. And at that same time, a big guru was visiting our mission. And the water fell on this guru. And my dear friends, all I heard was, "Brahmachari, what you have done?" And, when I looked, I saw that a few people were looking up at me, and I had to go. I got some penance to do anyways. And I asked for forgiveness, and the guru understood. He said, "Beta, your mind should be where your body is." And this is what happens. We tend to do things, say things, what we are not supposed to. That's the reason why, before we speak, when we are stressed out or depressed, please be careful what you say. You may hurt others in the process, and probably you didn't think of what you say. And we are all victim to that. How many friends we have lost, and people who are affiliated with us. We lose them because of what we say, the choices we make, things that we do without thinking before we speak. And I always say, when you're stressed out or when you're depressed, don't give any advice. Because you may just give an advice that will really, really create enemies instead of binding yourself with friends. And it's very, very important, my dear friends, to think especially. Don't give advice when you're depressed. I believe if we want advice on depression and we want counseling, we must go to a guru who is strong. But if you come and cry to me and says, "Babaji, Guruji, I am frustrated," and I myself cry and hug you up and said, "Beta, also I am frustrated," what am I giving to that person? So therefore, I have to be strong. You have to be strong to give courage to your children, to your friends, to your families, to people around you. But if that person comes and cry, and you also feel sorry and cry, then nobody is going to come to a conclusion. Hence, there's always a saying, you have to be strong, friends. So, always be the strong person. So, my dear friends, another thing about depression is that we must not feel ashamed. We must never feel ashamed to say that I'm depressed. A lot of people and families who live with families can be depressed and they're ashamed to say they're depressed. Nothing is wrong. My dear friends, nothing is wrong to say I'm depressed. But don't stay depressed. Try to get help. It is important that you try to get help, my dear friends. Now, I may ask you a question. If you know someone who is depressed, what is your advice to them? What you should tell them to do? I know one fellow said his psychologist, his doctor told him to hug up a tree. And that's nice. All right, it's okay. But I mean, that's fine as well. I mean, disidentify you from what you're going through. But there are several things when you go to a psychologist, they will tell you to do. And what I'm saying to you here is free. You don't have to pay for it. Because what I'm saying is both spiritual, psychological, and creating that balance between reality and what goes on in the mind of an individual. My friends, it is said when you go to a psychologist, they're going to tell you, you know what? You have to change your eating habit. The second thing they're going to tell you is that you have to get more rest, more sleep. They will advise you to get some sleeping tablets. Thirdly, they will tell you a little exercise here and there. These things do help. It will help. They will tell you, get involved in community projects so you can disidentify with your own troubles and focus on other. And I think that's a very great information. You know, when you get involved in a temple or you start serving the Guru, you start thinking about the work, the job with faith, and you start forgetting your problem. And that is a very good fact. Get involved in community projects. Start visiting people who are involved in community service. All right? Reading a good text that you love, you're going to start forgetting your troubles and start identifying on the stories and the knowledge. That's the reason Jnana Yoga in the Hindu tradition is the only aspect, and Bhakti Yoga as well, but more Jnana Yoga is something that rises you from the mental level, the emotional level, to the intellectual level. And when you start thinking brightly and very sharp, you're going to make great decisions and you're going to forget your struggles. And that's the reason why it's very important to read a good book, my dear friends, to meditate, disidentify from your struggles and problems. My dear friends, there are many causes of challenges that cause depression. You may want to probably comment on some of the things that you may have gone through that cause you depression. And I think a lot of depression is caused by losing someone. It could be losing a loved one, someone who you loved and they are no more, they're like your parents, a child. It is not easy when you lose a loved one. And it is only when you're there you can tell, you can know what you feel. Secondly, you know, a childhood impact, something that probably you were abused when you were a child. You were interfered with when you were a child. All these things could create psychological, long-term, emotional scars that can make you depressed. A lot of people are battered from a divorce, from marriage. And yes, you need psychological help. You need to go to a psychologist if you cannot help yourself, or a great guru who can help you. But the only difference, the guru is free, but the psychologist, you have to pay a lot of money to tell you hug a tree. And nothing is wrong in that. Normally when people are depressed, I tell them, you know, meditation is important. Close your eyes, picture a light, bring that light to your heart, extend that light to your body. Tell your body, I love you. You know, your heart, I love you. Oh, mind of thoughts, may I have loving thoughts. The organs, the pancreas, the liver, the kidneys, the entire internal body, tell them, I love you. Because your poor organs probably were infected, unaffected by the cortisol, adrenaline that the brain created, the hormones. So my dear friends, many causes we may have. A lot of people may change homes and go to a new environment. Climate, being in a very cold place without sunlight, can also create depression, right? Changing of a place. Getting married, a lot of girls when they get married, do you know they go through a depression, parents? Where parents are no longer there to cook for them and clean for them. A lot of young girls go through that change of a new home, a new environment. Probably you remembered when you got married and you had to live in a new environment with your in-laws. And it was not the same. right? So a lot of people go through change in environment. Now your question to me, Panditji, if I go into a new home, a new place, and I have no other choice but people who are, I'm wronged, and I have to live with them, how do I deal with such situations? Whether you're a friend, your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, your daughter-in-law, your brother-in-law, your sister-in-law, whatever law or outlaw says, okay, what and how do I face these conditions? And parents, you have to speak to your child, right? This is what Sita mother, Ma Sita ji, she went to her mother and her mother placed her in her laps and spoke in detail. Sita, Ma, you're going to a new environment. This and this is what you will have to go through. A lot of daughter-in-laws and son-in-laws and mother-in-laws and father-in-laws cannot deal with a new person. It's very, very difficult at the beginning. And when you start listening to people, that becomes a challenge to you. What do you see? You see faults in everything that they do. Or the daughter-in-law cannot cook the food right. She cannot iron the clothes right. She cannot keep my son's clothes right. Because that mother-in-law sees only that. Of course, not everyone. And of course, an in-law sees everything that a father-in-law, mother-in-law says. It becomes critical to the ear of that person who is listening. So the best way is to not identify, but disidentify. Live with them, smile with them, speak nicely. But if they are becoming a threat to your emotions of what they say and do, take a walk and come back. Listen to some music. Speak nicely to your husband or wife and talk to them what is happening. Of course, a husband or wife, especially a husband, should not take sides. Many times, poor fellow is in a situation he does not know whether he should choose his mother or whether he should choose his wife. And this becomes a turmoil, a tug of war in the home. My friends, people you have to live with, you have to know how to change your emotions, how to change the conversation, how to change that aspect. Listen to some music, read a good book, listen, go to the Mr. Bean movie and have a good laugh. It would really, really help. So my dear friends, there are many, many causes of depression. So you just have to shake off, these feelings and move on, I tell you. You just have to shake off this weakness. It's not going to help you at all. It's not going to help you at all, my dear friends. So, just to the lighter side again, I know you have been listening so nicely and attentively. And I do hope, in a discussion there is no music to sing to entertain you. But for those of you who really, really need help, this conversation, this discourse is really, really going to help you. I remembered also a story of a fisherman who was depressed. Poor fellow wanted to help. So he wrote a sign and he held it up. And the sign said, "The end is near." So when he held up this sign, some men who were going in the vehicle saw the sign and saw the end is near. The fellows in the deep, they were influenced by alcohol. They said, "Oh, lunatic, you're so foolish, the end is not there. All religion is saying the end is near." Then the man didn't know what to say. All of a sudden he heard the car crashed into this ditch. Then the fisherman turned and looked at the sign and he said, "You know what? Instead of saying the end is near, I should have said the bridge is closed." And so the car went down in the bridge, and this is so both sides. One man is confused, trying to help, and the others are more confused, trying to relate to the fellow. The end of the world is not near. The fellow is saying that bridge is closed and you will end up in a ditch. This is our situation. Many of us come to conclusion very, very easily. But my dear friends, when we lose people in our lives, we go through distress and depression. And I want to change now this discussion to the young people. A lot of young children who go through depression. Parents, how do you know and detect a child is depressed? This is very important. When a child starts staying in a bathroom too long, or closing that door and locking that door from you, or stop speaking and communicating with you, where you see that smile is, you're losing that child. That child is becoming distant, doesn't want to talk to you, where that child is spending excessive time away from home, only by himself, becomes quiet, does not become, that child has lost that enthusiasm. Please note, parents, it is a time to reach out to the child. I know one mother came to me and said, Guruji, my daughter, I know she is depressed, but what was sad is when she started to take the razors and cut her body. Do you know that is a sign of depression? When that depression becomes so overpowering, even the body flesh, it loses the feeling. And that's why a lot of children, a lot of people take knives and razors and cut themselves. My dear friends, they cut themselves. And this is a sign of, to the highest level of depression. That child needs help. And what I'm discussing here with you can be your child in the future. To prevent this, make sure you communicate with them. Make sure you sit with them and laugh. Make sure you be a friend with their child instead of a very serious, uptight parent. Make sure you bring your child to play with you. Make sure that you take out that child on a date. Make sure that that child is with friends, other friends, and can communicate, but with your guidance. My dear brothers and sisters, don't allow your child to become like this. Do you know what steps in after if you don't interfere, if you don't intervene? One of the most darkest thing about depression, one of the worst things that you may never want to think about, is that of suicide. When you think of suicide, it's because that person was depressed and didn't talk to anybody. You need to speak, my friends. Go to your guru. Go to someone who can listen to you. Go to an intelligent person who you can trust. Not a person who is like CNN. Next thing you hear it in the news, you hear it in the radio, you get emails from all your friends. Whenever you are depressed, don't pour it out in the Facebook. Alright? Keep these things to yourself and discuss it privately with someone. Because a lot of people they're just waiting to laugh at you. Not with you, but at you. A lot of people are just waiting to laugh when you go down, when it's going to be a failure, when it's going to be a bad name, when is your family is going to go down. That's joy for a lot of people, isn't it? Keep your depression and your sadness privately to be discussed with someone who can really help you. My dear friends, suicide is a very, very terrible thing. And you know our Hindu scriptures, they say, when you die, you can go to different places, Swarlok. You can return in human form. You can integrate into higher levels of beings until you get into oneness, moksha. But when you commit suicide, there is no returning. You get stuck into that Pret Lok. You're neither there nor here. You get stuck and there is no help. You know, when you're in that level, it's like trying to breathe underwater and you can't. And there's a saying in the scriptures, according to the Garud Puran, one of our Hindu scriptures, they say, when you take your own life and you commit suicide, you are not able to be blessed with a human form again. That opportunity of this bare bhagya manusya tanu pava, this body that you were blessed with, out of 8,400,000 species, this human body is of the highest. Even the Devatas, they wish if they can have the human body. Why? Because we are given the opportunity to serve and live in this loka that we can get self-realization and go directly in oneness with the Lord. Never think of suicide, my dear friends. Never, ever, ever think of that. It's critical, it's terrible, and you're losing out in so many different ways. You know, what is really sad for leaders as pundits, when you go to perform a funeral for a person who commits suicide? You know, we pray for the soul, but we really cannot help that soul. That Jivatma gets stuck because that person took the greatest gift God has given to them. But we can only say prayers, my dear friends, pray to the family. May the family get the strength, because they need it. So my dear friends, you know, when all these stress and depression takes place, you lose contact with reality. You lose interest in everything, you know. And then all the doctors put you in antidepressant drugs, and they tell you, you know what, that will recondition your body. One little boy said, Baba, Panditji, only females get depressed. I said, no. What do you mean? He says, Panditji, all the tablets that are given to people who are depressed is called antidepressant, not uncle depression. So I said, no, Vita, this is not so. So therefore, let us get in contact back with our reality, my dear friends. Let us get back in contact with reality, and you will see a huge difference in your life. I always say that when we have mandirs and temples and churches or masjid, it is a place not only to pray, it is also a forum to help souls. And I would suggest to many leaders, if you're blessed to have a mandir, I don't have one. But if you're blessed to go to one or have one, please utilize that forum, part of it, to speak to those who need help. A lot of our Christian friends, they go to the church and they confess their problems and issues. And of course, they get some help and they go back with some sort of gratitude, some sort of relief. In our Hindu tradition, where do we go? Tell me, where do we go for help? Which place can we go? Because most places are closed, of course, during this time. But most of the times the temples are locked. And it's fine, people have their duties to perform. The gurus have their jobs, because they cannot survive only in this field of Panditai. But of course, a time of Sunday or some time should be given to help our young ones face the crucial times. You have issues of bullying, where your children are bullied in school and they keep it from you. There are situations where a girl may be hampered with from family members. Who does she go? Where does she go? My friends, she may not be able to speak to anyone. And this is where our leaders are there to assist such souls, my dear friends. Meditation can help. You know, going to a mandir and satsang can really help you. You know, when things get better, I hope that you can attend to a satsang. It will really help your emotions. Sing the name of the Lord. Attend a class. Bhagavad Gita classes, that's a very famous thing in India, where a group of devotees of similar age, they would go and they would ask questions about Bhagavad Gita. You have Ramayana classes, you have Bal Vikas classes, where, you know, children can start learning the value of the body, how to face this depression, to keep positive. And this is what our scriptures, they're meant to do. To be given, to give our children not only moral values, but spiritual value as well. Then they will value their mind, body, and intellect. My dear friends, another thing about, you know, this discussion is very deep. I mean, I can stay here for another 2 hours and discuss about all the things that can go wrong in your life and how it's so easy to become depressed. I would suggest also that what really poisons the life and the mind of an individual to take one's life is when you're already in that negative tragic situation. And then you have to speak to negative people. And then you have to face negativities in your school, in your job, in the environment, even in religious places. People face a lot of negativities. Where you would think you would go to a place and feel released and happy and joyous. But instead you end up coming out being so angry. So it's very, very important that we keep in positive places with positive people. Smile, laugh. This is what my Guruji has said. Enjoy your life. I remember going when I was studying in India, I went to the Ganges. The most amazing thing I saw is that the yogis, they would sit there, near the river, nothing to do, they were free, they were not married, they were so joyous and happy, and they would smile, and not only carefree, but nothing like depression. They were so joyous, and they would just look for little food to eat, and that was it. Pastime ho gaya, just pastime. Our issue in this world, I think, and I want you to listen carefully, is that sometimes our expectations are too high. We expect so much from people that when our expectations are not reached or they become shattered, then we become so disappointed in life. And I would suggest, yes, have good expectations about things, but if they are shattered, be prepared to be still strong and calm and happy. Don't allow the issues of people who shatter your hopes make you a depressed person. My dear friends, it is very, very important that we start observing our family, observing our children, most of all observing ourselves. Today, families and parents are very busy with technology, with their job, with movies, with their shows, that we forget to spend that special time with our children. I mean, sharing your time with a child, eating with a child, laughing with a child. Do you know how much that can really help that child come out from such dilemma, that quandary, that depression, that dark hole? Sometimes a lot of women, wives, are depressed. Husbands are depressed. But yet they stay apart. And they fight with each other, quarrel with each other. Can't you remember the smile before marriage? Can't you remember a love song that once was sung to you? Where's that old love? And so, it starts like that. And people at the age of 60 and 70 and 80 years, before they enjoy those years that is left for them, they come apart and they grow apart, and then divorce comes next. Depression can cause that. My dear friends, it's very, very important to please understand what I'm saying. And don't only believe what I'm saying, but please understand what I'm saying. Our behavior pattern has a lot to do with how we approach life. Always be positive, always have a smile, always read a good book, always read a good quotation before you get up from your bed, before you go to your phones, say a prayer, go to your altar, and then face the world. A lot of people become depressed by seeing the movies, the news first thing in the morning, and then your entire day gets bitter than better. So maybe you get up and you rush off to see what's in your phone, and all of a sudden you see something that really, really depresses you and brings such darkness to your mind. Before you go to your phone, go to your Lord and say, Bhagwan, this is how I want to see the world. I want to see the world with brightness, with your favor. I want this situation of this pandemic to be resolved soon. I want to see this happy world from you, oh happy Lord. You have given me a happy heart with a happy jiva, a happy existence, a happy soul in a happy world. Why allow our minds to make it dark and saddened, my dear friends? Never sadden our world by what we see first thing in the morning. Say a prayer. Send out a good energy to the world. And you're going to see the world is going to return the very same to you. All that I'm saying, my dear friends, not every day is going to be a day that is magical to you. You're going to have some good days and you're going to have some sad days. I've spoken to so many people who are lonely, who live alone, their spouse is gone, right? And what do you say to such a person when you live so many years and then that person is no longer, that child is no longer there, that wife is no longer there, that husband is not there anymore? How do you face such dilemma, darkness, right? A lot of people are out there living alone and it's quite depressing sometimes. But my dear friends, you have to search for ways and means to come out from such darkness and dilemma. It's very, very important to understand not all days are going to be good. When Sri Ram was ready to be crowned as king of Ayodhya, what came up? He had to be diverted to the forest. Some people would have just committed suicide for that. Lord Krishna had some really terrible days, challenging days. But my friends, once you are bound to this body as a soul, and the body jiva in this body, these are the kabhi kabhi dukhi hai or kabhi kabhi sukhi hai. Ye jeev hai, ye pran hai. This is what life is about. Sometimes kabhi kabhi dukhi hai. There's going to be some frustrations, difficulties, bahut takleef hai. Or kabhi kabhi ye jeev bahut prasanna atma hai. Sometimes you're also going to be happy and joyous. But hum kya kare? Aap kya karo? What are we going to do? So therefore, my dear friends, this body is very important. Life is very important. It's a beautiful quotation I read. I would like to share it with you. This really touched my life, and I just want to read it for you. Something that Robin Williams, one of the greatest actor in the Hollywood film, he said, and he wrote, he committed suicide, right? And he was famous, he was very wealthy. But we learn that wealth and fame can never help you when you're depressed. You can have all the money in the world, you can have all the fame in the world, but nothing can help you when you're depressed. I read what he says, or what he said. He spoke on depression. He said, I think the saddest people always try their hardest to make people happy, everybody happy. Because they know what it's like to feel absolutely worthless. And they don't want anyone else to feel like that. A beautiful quotation, isn't it? The saddest people are always try their best to help people because they know how it is to be absolutely worthless and they don't want others to be like that. What a quotation from the great Robin Williams. In living in a body that fights to survive with a mind that tries to die. That was Robin Williams' situation. And, I would like to say something now to, all these things I've been saying, exercise more, speak to someone that you trust, eat healthy food, get enough sleep, read good books, see a comedy movie, play with your children, go for a walk, try to understand the value of great things that are yet to come in your life. There's so much to look forward to in life. Don't lose hope. Asha na toro. Asha means hope. Na toro, don't lose hope. There are great things yet to come into your life. But I would like to conclude my conversation, my discussion with you from a spiritual angle. And if we, or any one of you, may be depressed, the best way to help yourself is to understand that we didn't come with a body alone. We're functioning and operating from different levels. From a body level, We are functioning from a level of the mind. We are functioning from the level of the intellect, buddhi. We are functioning also responding from the senses. Look at how many areas we are operating from. When you're saddened, depressed, they all go in different directions. Senses go different. The body is affected. The mind is somewhere. The intellect is fighting to survive. The yogis, they say, blessed are those whose body, mind, senses, and intellect are all intact with the master driver, which is the Atma. My dear friends, the Atma is driving. This body is just a chariot. The charioteer is our dear Lord within the human body. What I'm about to say to you is that, when we become spiritual, we become enlightened, we feel different. We come to understand that we lived many times, in many lifetimes, in many places, with many different families. Not only our last life package came with us, but that samskar of many Purna life is here with us. This package we are carrying is not only from this lifetime, but from many, many janams, many different lives. And here we are today. It is only obvious because of karmic paths that we have brought with us those past vasanas, those past sanskars, that we are going to feel the way we feel sometimes. The only remedy and solution is to surrender to the Lord. Sing His praises, meditate on that beautiful, gracious form of the Lord. The best way to defeat and dissolve those karmic impressions that we are carrying is to chant the Mrityunjaya. Trayambakam yajame sugandhim pushti vardhanam urvarukhameva bandhana mrityor mokshyamamritat. That mantra, by regular chanting of it, it can help you remove such impressions that are following you. So therefore, my dear friends, when we are enlightened, we will come to know that spirituality alone can help us in this journey of life. My friends, if we listen to this talk and we share this talk, and for those of you who are listening to this, you can save yourself a lot of doctor bills just by becoming the real you. Get in contact with your reality. Get in contact with your Atma Bala, the God within, the life force within you, that Shakti, that Atma. Read a lot of great books and rise beyond your problems. And from the time you start rising spiritually, your problems, they become smaller. The ego, ahankar, becomes smaller and smaller. And then you see the world with a different light. One author said, when I was depressed, the entire place was gloomy, dark. But when I came out from it, because of enlightenment of my Guru, then the same things I saw very dark and depressed and daunted with darkness, like everything was poison around me. Now, because the change took place in me, now I'm seeing a magical world, a place filled of brightness and colors like the kaleidoscope colors. I'm seeing love everywhere, light everywhere, divinity everywhere. Why? The world didn't change. My perception did. Once your perception changes, everything around you is going to change. Your family, your good luck, your finance, everything around you is going to look different. Not because the shades you're wearing or the eyes, it's because the Divya Drishti, the eye of the mind, is now enlightened, that everything becomes brightened. My dear friends, a pleasure being in your company as always. And I do hope and pray that you stay grounded with your spiritual side. And be like a tree, as one said, Guruji. Stay grounded, connect with your roots, your tradition, the value of yourself. Turn over a new leaf. There are a lot of great things to turn over every day from you. Enjoy your unique natural beauty and keep growing. Keep in contact with reality, and you're going to see your situation is going to be solved. If you are depressed and you're living in the past, if you are living in awareness, anxiousness, you are living in the future. But if you are living in peace, you are living in the present. I end with this quotation. Should I read it again? When you're depressed, it's because you're living in the past issues. When you are anxious, it's because you're living in the future. We are not there as yet. But when you are peaceful and in tune with that harmonious self, it's because you're living in the present. And so, my dear friends, may Bhagwan bless you all, guide you and protect you. May this talk of depression help all of you. And please share this video with your friends. I think it will really help them. The Hindi word for depression, avasad. Avasad was my topic today. And remember, your devotion is greater than your depression. The solution for your depression is to get in contact with your reality, with the God within. Everything is just going to be fine. Become like that flower, and the bees will come for themselves. Thank you so much, everyone, for viewing. May Bhagwan always bless you, guide you, and protect you. Please join me tomorrow evening from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. with bhajans and a beautiful short discourse from 8 to 9 Eastern Time. If you're from the Caribbean area, it's from 9 to 10. I hope you'll be awake to see us. So tomorrow evening, please join us. Thank you so much, everyone, for viewing. May my discussion be that medicine of dosage that you would like to take to heal your very existence. Namaskar, everyone. Sitaram. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om.